All right, what's going on, you guys? Nick here with Nick's Strength and Power, and today, and today we're gonna be looking at so in the Jojo universe, okay, there's you may not know, but there's been a lot of steroid use from the characters themselves. Now we're gonna start to observe some of these and document them, if you will. So first of all, we have, as you can see, the one and only Dio Brando. Now, little known fact about this guy: before he became 3,000 time Mr. Olympia, he was actually an accomplished local boxing champion, as seen in the picture right here. Now, about, I don't know, maybe about 15 years later, he would start to experiment with some steroids. Now, as you can see from the comparison here, much more defined jawline and sharper features overall. Now, another little known fact about this guy: he started experimenting with alcohol. Now, I don't know what kind of steroids he was taking, or allegedly taking, but the alcohol really didn't have any good effect on his body. As seen here, his face at one point during an onstage local performance started to become incredibly vascular, and so he would stop competing for a little while until he would return a couple months later with, as you can see right here pictured, a much darker skin complexion, as well as some eye problems. He would start wearing glasses from time to time, especially for reading. Now, after that, everyone pretty much thought, okay, well, this guy's retiring. He's never going to show his face again. But to everyone's surprise, I don't know, maybe about 50, 60 years later, he came back in the best shape of his life, really. I mean, you can see right here, defined midsection, amazing chest, and I believe he implanted maybe 2 solid rocks into his shoulders. I mean, you can see these are just popping out. And then in this next photo right here, very famous one, he went to reclaim his title as Mr. Olympia for the 3,001st time, as seen in his award ceremony here with the incredibly realistic first place award there on his chest. Now, right after that show, little known fact, just after his return, he would famously have the heart attack of 1987, and then he would just explode from being too huge. Now, of course, this was bad news for his training partner and best friend, Holy Diver. Now, this guy had the nickname The World. I really don't know why. Maybe because, I don't know, when he dives, I guess, there's more water on Earth than Earth. So there we go. The World. Makes sense. Pretty good. In this famous picture here, we see them training, and then this is the next year's Mr. Olympia, where Holy Diver won, and in his celebration, he lifted an array of some metal gears, as pictured here. Very famous picture. This is right after he won his first Mr. Olympia, but as we all know, but also, again, little known fact, he would those metal gears would damage his spine, so he would have to go and have surgery. Now, unfortunately, the surgery went wrong, and so his spine never really recovered. There's a very famous picture, but also little known picture of him coming out from surgery. You see the D on his knee pads stands for diver. So we see overall incredible loss of muscle mass right here. I would have said he was still somewhere around the same lean part, but you can see the midsection is not even defined, so I'm afraid he gained a very slight amount of fat there. So of course, Holy Diver had to retire right after that because, well, he just simply couldn't compete anymore. Now, famously, but also little known fact, the president of the United States, at one point in time, Funny Valentine, also underwent some steroid usage, but to a lot of people's speculations, He also went through some testosterone therapy. So as you can see here, somewhat short guy. Um, he's got a double chin. I'd say he's chubby. Really not a defined jawline. And then this picture right here is a couple months later. He grew in about 2 feet for again a couple months. Jawline is very defined. No chub anymore. Now, little known fact about the president, he also had some heart issues. This is a very famous picture of his heart almost bulging out. Now, of course, he also got some liposuction as seen here. And then he had some very defined abs present. Now, he would go to win Mr. America, as pictured here, holding his trophy. But unfortunately, right after that win, in fact, a couple of weeks after, he would start experiencing some side effects of perhaps the hormones or steroids, no one really knows, where he would lose an incredible amount of muscle mass as well as, most importantly, hair. Now, as you can see here, the side effects are really starting to get bad, and he is balding, and for self-esteem issues, he decided to simply stop competing there. Now, next on the line, we have a Japanese bodybuilder, very, very gifted, but also a renowned steroid user. This is Josuke. I believe this is him at age 4. Now, in the next picture, I think this is about 4.5. You can see very clearly when this is about the time where he won his 32nd Mr. Olympia. His jawline is incredibly defined, and overall great musculature throughout. Now, later on when he went to college, rumor has it he took a gender studies class, and he decided to transition. So as you can see from here, this is about the first sort of stage from transitioning. Overall, much more soft features, definitely a more feminine look. The jawline is now slightly less defined, and even his hair is not sticking out and not as spiky as before, but you didn't hear that from me. Now here you can see the almost at the final stage, the pecs were almost removed entirely. There's an acquisition of a bubble butt, and overall just a feminine pose for the Miss Japan show. Now here he is, I believe 2 or 3 weeks later, actually winning the Miss Japan show. So congratulations, Josuke. I wish you nothing but the best for in the future. So there we go. Now, next up right here, we have Dio from an alternate world. I believe this is Dio from Earth 52. Now, as you can see, this version of Dio, incredible musculature overall, very, very muscular guy. Here pictured winning his 8,372nd Mr. Olympia, I believe. It might also be the 73rd. I can't really make the distinction between those, but it's one of these. Just a very, very unbeatable guy. Obviously a steroid user. Now, just after his last Olympia win, he experienced strange side effects. One of them was, really the main one, was muscle imbalance. Now, as you can see, his left arm looks like it's never seen a dumbbell, while his right arm looks like he's been a chronic masturbator. So he would go to have surgery, but just like Holy Diver from before, the surgery would go wrong, and this is a very famous picture, but also a little known picture of him coming out of the surgery room, and unfortunately from then on he had to retire because any little amount of physical activity would make him puke and cough blood. Now, the last character we have here is actually another alternate world Dio. This one is from the parallel universe called the Shadow Realm. Now, as you can see, this Dio is much more accustomed to the Egyptian look from from a much younger age. So this is before the steroids, and then after the steroids, here's his transformation. Now, here the process went wrong, as you can see. If anything, he lost a little bit of muscle mass, and he just became more lean. He also grew a lot of hair, which is strange because, as we've seen with the US president, you usually go bald instead of growing hair, but they must have taken different kinds of steroids. And so, as we see here, really nothing too impressive in terms of physique, but the judges quickly noticed some vascularity in his hands, but most importantly, in his fucking face. and that really they pointed that out as not being appealing, so they penalized him for that. And unfortunately, alternate world Dio from the Shadow Realm did not win any Mr. Olympias due to his massive vascular face, which would then make him go a little bit crazy. And later on, he would actually stop competing because just like Earth 52, alternate world Dio, the slightest physical activity would all of a sudden make him cough up and puke blood. So that was a brief history of steroid use in the Jojo universe. I hope you liked this video, and if you liked it, give it a like. If you didn't, well, give it a dislike. I'm pretty sure that's there for that. And see you guys next time.